Cooper Duff-Tytler must be feeling really good right now. A consensus top 8 pick in this draft. He is the best ruckman in the draft by a long way. Consensus power rankings are having guys like Louis Emmett and Taj Murray anywhere from that 16 to 30 mark. So he is sitting at the top of the tree. However, the guy that is being commonly compared to Brodie Grundy and Tim English may be the riskiest guy to take a stab on in that top 10 range out of everyone in the draft. And let me explain why. Now, to be fair to him, part of this is in his control and part of it is not. Where a guy like Emmett or Murray, the advantage that they have over CDT is that they have forward craft. They are probably going to be a second ruck who can rotate through and also be a presence up forward. CDT hasn't really known, although he did kick a couple of goals throughout the national championships and for his time at the Calder Cannons as well, and he has still got time to finish the season in a positive way. He hasn't really got that. He is a number one ruck. That's what you would be drafting him for, and it's probably all that he can do. And I do not mean that in a negative way. The same thing with English, the same thing with Grundy, the same thing with the guys that he's being compared to. That's what they do. There is nothing wrong with that at all. He is an accumulative type. They were also taken in teens picks, which he is not. Now, Luke Jackson, as we know, was a pick 3. We know that English and Grundy were inside the top 20, but very much at the back end. I thought it would be worthy of having a look at where every other team's number one ruck were drafted. And look, for some of these teams, I think off the top of my head, it's like 7 or 8, but it's probably more because I don't want to do it off the top of my head, is they were just traded. And not traded for a lot. Yes, I know Jackson was, but the majority of it was like Richmond got Nankervis so cheap. Collingwood got Darcy Cameron for so cheap. Hawthorn got Lloyd Meek for so cheap. And that's the way that this works. But it's, in terms of guys that are taken in the top 45, like there is a handful. And then outside of that, there are just so many draft gems that these number one rucks come from that you have to ask the question, is it worth that top 5, top 6 selection? Because to be perfectly honest, there are only 3 teams that I think are even worthy of having a look at him at that point. Because again, not a lot of the clubs on the screen that I showed you need a number one ruck. Now, could he be a stash job? Maybe, potentially, for sure. But none of the teams that are in that zone, I think it's going to be worth stashing him away. Even a side like Collingwood, for example, which is still majorly unlikely before the Darcy Cameron stuff came through, but he's just re-signed for 3 years. They've got Steen on their list, like they've got a backup there. I just don't think it's worth Collingwood going after him. So you're looking at Richmond, West Coast, and Essendon. Now, all 3 of those clubs have got that draft capital in the top 8, as we know. The Bombers have got 2. In fact, all 3 of them have got 2 picks. West Coast are going to get the band compensation for Oscar Allen, whether we like it or not. And the question kind of does need to be asked there is it worth taking the shot on him as the ruckman? Now, if you think he's generational and he's just going to be one of the better ruckmen in the competition, you would probably do it. Where the risk comes in is that what if he's not? Because as weak as people want to tell me this draft is, you're still going to be able to find quality players in that top 10. And even with those 3 clubs, Richmond, West Coast, Essendon, ruck is not necessarily the first hole that they need to fill. You look at West Coast, is they need midfielders, they need, well, nearly everything, to be perfectly honest with you. But if you look at the guys that are there, Willem Dersma, Dyson Sharp, those kind of guys to encapsulate around Harley Reid and Elijah Hewitt in the future is going to be key. And when you've got those top-end picks, that makes sense. You go to the Bombers, they just need better ball users. Even if Draper goes, Nick Bryan is there, Vizentini is still there. They drafted Cale Girine not too long ago, so why would they do it at that point? You then look at West Coast and go, well, maybe Matt Flynn's not working out. That's fair. Archer Reid is a guy that you can throw in there. Not a lot of West Coast fans are big believers in Bailey Williams or Harry Barnett, which I understand. The question that you've got to ask yourself is it worth the Eagles going, we could get CDT and let's say Dersma or Sharp, whichever one that you want, and then we can go get another midfielder at our teens pick because they've got Hawthorn's first rounder? Or is it worth going the double mid or the double non-ruck selection, and then if you got to that pick 15 mark, could you take a stab on an Emmett? Could you take a stab on a Taj Murray? Or do you, for the next season, just roll with the guys that you've got on the list? Flynn could be the placeholder. You've got Archer Reed, who could be the secondary type and try it out that way. You've already got Shanahan on the list. You could look at a key forward, another one to partner Job Shanahan for the future post Oscar Allen. Jake Waterman's got to come back. That is a risk, a massive one. And I'm not convinced that any of those three clubs, and West Coast is the most likely after missing out on Darcy Cameron, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. Yes, Richmond have got Toby Nankervis and then not a lot else. But they could also make the argument, we got Nankervis for cheap. Could we just get another one for cheap? A Liam Reedy, for example. I know Ned Moyle re-signed at the Suns, but he could be one to look at. In a couple of years' time, if Logan Smith can't get into GWS's lineup, could he be a guy to go for? Geelong have drafted some ruckman. Toby Conway, Mitch Edwards, Jacob Mollier could be guys to look at who aren't getting opportunity. Circa Jordan Sweet, behind Tim English, wasn't getting that sort of opportunity. And there would be guys, nearly everywhere. Visentini at Port Adelaide, for example. If St Kilda are going to go get TDK and are going to go get, and maybe do get rid of Rowan Marshall, I should say, but you've got TDK there. You've got Max Heath there. Could an Alex Dodson become available, which would be ridiculous? I think Dodson's going to be very good, like unbelievably good, and St Kilda should do everything they can to keep him long term. But you've also got the Strahan at Adelaide, who could be, worth having a go at. Do you keep an eye on Henry Smith at Brisbane? Mark Pittonet at Carlton, although if TDK goes, you're probably going to need to keep him around. But Hudson O'Keefe is still on the list. Is he one that you could go for in the future? Like, there are names there. Ned Reeves is probably going to be at another club next year. Now, unless they rechange the ruck rules, Reeves is just not going to do much for you, because when the ball leaves the contest, he's just proven at AFL level that he's more liability than reliability. Like, that's just the way that it goes. Like, a guy like Tom Fullerton went to Melbourne, and it's clear that hasn't worked out. But, could you find another way? Keep an eye on Taylor Goad, North Melbourne, in terms of, because you're going to struggle to break in with Sherry, for example. Like, we can keep an eye on these guys. The answer, if you think that there are guys on that draft board, especially at Richmond, that you go, yeah, we could use Josh Lindsay, a Sam Grill if we wanted to. Yeah, we could look at a Sam Cumming, Noba Hibbins-Hargreaves if we want to just attack again and again with smalls. He could find himself slipping out. Now, if that's the way that works, circa Harry Armstrong is a key forward, and I think this is not going to be a good year for key forwards getting drafted. Yes, I still think there are quality ones. Aiden Schubert, Mitch Marsh, Archie Ludowick, these guys absolutely are going to be worthy of good draft selections. I just don't think they're going to come in the top 10, top 12. Or they're not at this stage. Anything can change. But if a West Coast, for example, want to move up, if he's still there at pick 10, 11, 12, whatever it may be, is it worth moving up for him? Then I think you've got a case to be made. I really do. But I think it would be a massive risk. And look, the reward is there. If someone said to me, look, West Coast, Richmond, Bombers, if you want to put them in there, if one of those teams are going to get Tim English, are going to get Brodie Grundy, do you make that draft pick? Yes. Unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball. And I'm not trying to knock CDT's talent either, by the way. It is a delicate balance. He can only do everything he can to put himself in front of recruiters. Absolutely. And I hope, genuinely, that he has a 250-game career and is a multiple All-Australian. What I'm saying is, though, that from a list management point of view of some clubs that are going to be down the bottom for the next year or two, is a ruckman the answer? And that kind of delicate balance is going to be really interesting to see come draft time. So what do you guys think? Whether you're a supporter of these clubs or not, would you rather them just get him off the board early? Would you rather wait and see if he gets to that 8, 9, 10 option and try to move up for him? How would you approach it? Let me know. Comment, like the video, subscribe if you like Daz Talks Footy. I really appreciate all of your guys' support. Trying to hit 6K before the final start. I've also released 2 other videos this week. Whether you're a Hawthorn fan or not, I think the midfield video is worth checking out. And I also released my Premiership Pie, going through what I think are the percentage chances of all 9 contenders winning the flag. So go check that out. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Plenty of weekend content to come. Goodbye.